Here we go. Every journey is going to end, and now we have the last two rounds of this Lost Olympiad. This is round 18. In round 18, the author selected a game between Hungary and Lithuania. Hungary was Lilienthal, a very strong player, and Lithuania also strong, Mikenas. Lilienthal started with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, and bishop f4. In that time, it seems that this exchange variation, c takes d5, wasn't seen as positive for white. So that's the comment. Bishop g7, e3, and castle. Once more, black could get a strong initiative if white takes on d5. So let's continue to see how they played. Knight f3. This is quiet development. A year later, at the Avro tournament in 1938, a very important tournament, Capablanca introduced the vigorous rook c1. So imagine we are at move 6. In that time, 1948, this was a state of the knowledge. Discouraging black from playing c5, okay? So in that moment the theory in this line was up to move 6, imagine that. But now, after knight f3, black does play c5 and immediately fight for the center, right? Now black gets a full share of a play and the situation is tense until the central exchanges are settled. White's awkward looking reply seems to be looking for a chance to exchange the off the g7 bishop. So what do you think he played? Obviously he played bishop e5, right? He's trying to exchange the bishop. C takes d4, e takes d4, d takes c4, and bishop takes c4. Thus the strategic lines are drawn. White has a great freedom for his pieces, but also an isolated d-pawn. The next phase is conducted by Mikenas as a sustained siege of that target. So again, as you can see, just watching these games, you learn everything you need, for example, about a pawn structure that is very important, the one with the IQP, isolated queen pawn. And what do you learn? You learn how to fight against it. In this case, black is fighting against it, and white is trying to keep it and push it. So from watching these games we learn about that, okay? Knight c6, attacking the pawn d4, castle, and bishop g4. When this line crop up, a little later, Floor, as black against Abrams in Bournemouth 1939, choose b6. And bishop b7. Obviously, again, you want to control the square in front of the isolated queen pawn. But Mikenas' move is a logical way of weakening the d-pawn, removing two defenses from it, right? 1 and 2. So let's see how white tries to solve this problem, if he can, because maybe he can't, no? Right? h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, And notice how it doesn't take immediately, because obviously there would be an exchange there probably. He plays rook c8. And here I think it could have been interesting to see what happens after this. Probably it takes here. Yeah, probably takes here, so that's why I can't. So he played rook c8 to centralize and is threatening this. And we have played rook fd1 and queen a5 with the black queen off the line of a rook and the white king bishop hanging. The danger to the center pawn is serious. Yes, so it will be take, 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 and then this is the one hanging, okay? Or maybe take that. No. Okay, let's see what happens. Bishop b3, b6, removing the pawn from the attention of the white queen and threatening to win a pawn by knight takes e5. Okay. Bishop takes f6. Bishop takes f6 and the knight d5. So here is still now he could take here, but then he loses this one, and then when this take he takes back, right? So clearly it's a good way that white did to defend the pawn d4. Bishop g7. Even if white pawn should fall, there is now the built-in drawing factor of opposite color bishops. With neither king in any particular danger, a draw looks like the likeliest result, but this is not a Grandmaster tournament, it is an Olympiad. So what does this mean? It means that generally in the Olympiad they are team encounters, and so you have to continue to play because maybe your teammates, one of the teammates is going bad, and so in some cases they will need you to win the game no matter what, or to force, because otherwise there will be a loss for the entire team if you just draw. And so that's the reason they are still playing. So here white continue with queen e4, and here it's threatening knight takes e7, right, and securing the d pawn. For the time being, at least, white's real trouble is the fact that whereas every black piece is available for the siege of d4, there is one white piece which is not available for its defense, the white square bishop. So yeah, this is the problem, right? He needs to push it. e6, trying to fix the thing so I cannot push it. Knight e3, queen b4, knight c2, queen e7, knight e3, queen b4, knight c2, queen e7. Both players flirt with the idea of with the idea of drawing by repetition, gaining a little time to size up the possibility. Yeah, generally the time control is at 40 moves. If you repeat moves, you have gained some minutes on the clock, right? But Lilienthal decides to play a3 and to try to win for Lithuania, for his country, right? And still has a theoretical chance of going to the top. Ironically, it turns out that if he had taken the draw, his side would have won the match instead of halving it, so they had draw at the end with Hungary. Now the siege of the d-pawn goes ahead in earnest. Rook f8, boom. Rook b1. And here there is, why rook b1? Obviously because you're protecting this and you want to push without this taking, right? Rook d6, now everybody's piling up on the d file. Bishop e4. There is of course one way in which a white square bishop can intervene in the struggle for a black square, namely to take off a piece which is attacking it, right? So you want to exchange, and queen d8, rook b c1. Here there is a decision that probably is not the best. Maybe he should have taken, okay? That was probably the best. And again, it's the decision is based on the fact that this guy, white, wanted to win at all costs, but sometimes to try to win in a drawing situation brings you a bad thing, right? Knight takes d4, knight takes d4, rook takes c1, rook takes c1, bishop takes d4, and queen e2. End of phase 2, black has his extra pawn 2, 4, 6 against 2, 4, 5. And the e-pawn being his candidate, but Mykonas has quite a technical problem to solve before he can turn this into a full point. Yes, this is the thing. How do you actually win? Because this is you need to make this pawn majority into a pass pawn, and that's a kind of matter of technique, especially this is an endgame at this point. So let's see how he continued. He continued with queen h4, so he's attacking this and trying to take this. Bishop b3, e5, rook f1, queen f4, rook d1, rook f6. Everybody's piling up on f, rook d2, king g7, and bishop d1. Now the difference between the two sides is this: white doesn't want to do nothing, no? But black has something to achieve, right? So he needs to advance these two pawns, no? And keep up the pressure on f2. And of course, the good thing is that yes, these are opposite bishop, but there are the big pieces on the board, which means that there are possibilities to try to give checkmate or create some checkmate attack. Okay, let's see how black try to solve this big problem. Rook e6, rook c2, rook d6. Once more, here there is the threat of take, check. So That's kind of interesting how black is continuously creating some threats, right? Queen e1, e4, and black was able to push. So imagine, we are learning also how to win once you have an advantage and you need to convert it, right? Bishop e2, e3, f takes e3, and queen takes e3. One pair of pawns is gone. Black's new candidate is the f-pawn, but more important is the reduction of the white king protection, so that the specter of a mating attack becomes more real. Black will play against the black square, and white will find them increasingly difficult to defend. King h1, rook f6, queen d1, rook f2, bishop d3, rook takes c2, bishop takes c2. Obviously you cannot take with the queen because otherwise it's checkmate, right? But this is a problem. As you can see, the fall of a second pawn, giving black majorities on both sides of the board, is a positive step toward victory. At the same time, the disappearance of the rooks has largely removed the fear of mating combination and given the position the character of a pure endgame. a4, bishop e5, bishop b3, queen f4, mating here, king g1, a6. Obviously you want to create a pass pawn on the queen side, and then you will create another pass pawn on the king side. Okay, bishop c2, b5, a takes b5, a takes b5, bishop b3, and b4, bishop c2, and now of course you want to try to create also the other side. So the king side majority start to move. Okay, bishop b3. I think it's this is a great example if one wants to learn chess. He must keep as examples some games for some pawn structure on how to do it. Here we see how black was able to get the isolated queen pawn, and then how black was able to create a pawn majority that is rolling. So that's kind of very, very interesting, I think. Check, king h1, bishop e5, again threat on there, king g1. And so why is this important? Because he gained time, and now he plays g5. So why he plays g5? Obviously because there is a possible threat. If he takes here, I think the threat could be to give check, and let's see what is the threat. Okay, I'm not checking with the computer, so let me show you in case. I think if he takes here, there is a check, right? Then where does the white goes? If he goes here, can give check again, and when he goes on a black square, he gets a check by the bishop, but then is protected and takes the other. That's a possibility. Or what could it be? After a check on e3, he could go to h1, and then there could be another threat that is yes. So if it takes here, queen e3, king h1, then brings checkmate here. So just to show you, you cannot play this because of this. Okay, so that's kind of important, why you cannot take, and remember that this is hanging. Instead, it's more interesting this, I think, variation, and now probably black is able to give to take the bishop. Yeah. So let's go on. What did he play? g5, queen f3. The position of a white king is becoming untenable, and Lilienthal decides for the better or worse he must offer the exchange of the queens. Bishop d4, king h1, takes, and f5. And now, yeah, black holds all the trumps, pass pawn on one side, pawn majority on the other, and the more active king. Bishop d1, and here this is another great thing. Many people think, oh, it's a opposite color bishop, it's a draw. No, it's not. So you will see also how you win against the opposite color bishop. Bishop f6, f4. Trying to break up the phalanx of or fins out the pawn. Obviously you play g4, right? King g2, bishop e3, h take, f takes. So now there are two pass pawn on this one that you need to block. King g3, bishop d2, and then he continued with bishop c2. Here would have been interested to, yeah, so the problem is the following. If this goes here, this is gone, and when you take here, that's a pass pawn, so you have a problem of two pass pawn at the same time. You cannot block them all, right? So that's the reason that he cannot play king h4. So bishop c2, bishop e1, king g2, and h4, and the game is over. Very correctly played throughout by Mykonas, and staunchly, though unavailingly, defended by Lilienthal in a good cause. By an irony of a draw, the final round paired the USA with Scotland. For America it was merely a lap honor. But for Hungary and Poland the last round was a serious matter, with Argentina breathing down their necks and threatening to snatch the third or even the second place. In the event, Argentina, by closing up a further half point, did actually share the fourth place with Poland. The astonishing Argentinian climb from 8th to 4th in the last 5 rounds give the impression that if the Olympiad had gone on for a few more rounds, they would have won. So in the next round, round 19, we will also see the final position. I think, yeah, but USA, as you can see, is the winner with 54.5 points, being in front of everyone else. So imagine how strong US was in 1937 at chess level. Okay, so next video, round 19.